So, if you're a member of the U.S. news media, you've got a serious problem in image relations. U.S. coronavirus deaths are down. Now, since the news media personally blamed President Donald Trump at the start of the coronavirus crisis, they're having real trouble when the death rate goes down. How do you blame Trump for good news regarding the coronavirus? You can't. So you can see here, the virus appears to be killing fewer of the people it infects. Well, that's not good news if the news media had foolishly gone all in and completely invested in the notion of blaming Donald Trump for the handling of coronavirus. And the media has another problem. When President Trump gave his July 3rd speech at Mount Rushmore, he defended things that are readily defendable. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt. He represents the rule of law, the order of American society, and he spoke about the need to respect our civil rights icons like the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, the list goes on and on. So the media didn't like the message and they didn't like the imagery. So they did what they normally do. They censored the speech. CNN and MSNBC barely covered the speech, according to newsbusters.org, which monitors news media bias. CNN refused to carry a single second of the speech. They blame President Trump for the country's coronavirus response. And as I just showed you here, that same day, July 3rd by Catherine Wu, that same day that CNN chose to blame President Trump for the coronavirus response. So I guess CNN will soon be issuing an apology and corrective, right? So MSNBC carried 11% of President Trump's Mount Rushmore speech. Now, this was business as usual by the news media. However, there's a problem. The news media followed the lead of the New York Times, stating that Trump's speech was, down here, Trump's white version of history. Obviously, if he talks about Muhammad Ali and the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., the New York Times claims that's a white version of history. Interesting. The news media wants to elect Joe Biden, assuming he remembers that he's running for president. That's the news media's goal. Elect Joe Biden in November 2020. Problem is, President Trump is representing law and order, standing in defense of not burning our cities, not tearing down our country's American statues. And just for the record, for those of you who haven't caught President Trump's Mount Rushmore speech, over the entire 42 minutes, he does not speak in praise of a single Confederate leader, politician, general, or statue. I just thought I'd make that clear. President Trump spoke in defense of American statues and American leaders. I hate to have to point that out, but the news media continually lies about him and what his speech actually consisted of. So, we have a problem here. CNN and NBC did their usual routine of censoring or banning President Trump's 42-minute speech. But the narrative is President Trump is trying to divide America. Well, if you're the news media and you want to show Americans how divisive President Trump is, then you carry the full speech and show everyone just what a rotten guy President Trump is. But CNN didn't do that. CNN had to hide the entire speech from their audience because they didn't want their audience to hear something from President Trump that contradicted the slant, the spin, the bias, and the partisanship of CNN and their news anchors. CNN had to hide what the president actually said. The same for MSNBC. So, if the president's message is polarizing, divisive, dark, you would carry every second of it just to show your audience just what a mean, mean man that Trump is. Watch the entire speech, and it is probably the best speech of President Trump's career. He speaks from the heart, and he speaks with the facts on his side, and there is no division and no hatred in his speech. That comes from this gentleman here. And I really feel sorry for Joe Biden. I don't think he has the slightest idea what he's saying from week to week. It's like they just put a script in front of him and he has no idea what he's talking about. President Trump, he says what he means. And whether you like him or hate him, he is the only thing standing between our country and the abyss. Thank you.